A quote from Alice Cooper's Ballad of Dwight Fry. See my lonely life unfold. I see it every day. See my only mind explode since I've gone away. I think I've lost some weight there, and I'm sure I need some rest. Sleeping don't come very easy in a straight white vest.
Hi, I'm Bobby, and using the DVD scene selection, I am doing a scene-by-scene review of my favorite movie, the 1931 version of Dracula. Tonight, we are on Scene 11, the Next Victim. In this scene, Count Dracula drinks Mina's blood, but Professor Van Helsing discovers 2 marks on her neck, the telltale sign of the vampire.
Just as Bela Lugosi was born to play Count Dracula, I believe Helen Chandler was born to play his primary victim, Mina. The opening scenes in Dracula are set on April 30th, which is known as Walpurgis Night, when the witches hold their Sabbath on Brocken Mountain, and evil spirits are at the most powerful. So a pretty swinging night. When she was only 59, Helen Chandler died on April 30th.
People thought Helen Chandler would be the new Lillian Gish. She was dramatic, had cat-like eyes, and an ethereal, almost childlike quality. Her dream was to produce and star in a film version of Alice in Wonderland. However, she was also a lonely and tormented soul. As a child, her mother forced her into show business. She was addicted to alcohol and sleeping pills, and while she was making Dracula, she was even suffering from appendicitis, and had to finish her scenes before being operated on. In 1930, Hollywood did not make movies about the supernatural. Dracula was something new. And Helen Chandler and David Manners thought it was a little silly and would giggle together. She also brought her best friend, her sister-in-law, to the set. Her earlier scenes revealed the lighter side of Helen Chandler. But after she is bitten, her inner turmoil shines through.
Before putting the bite on Mina, Dracula must enlist the help of Renfield. And we find him sitting alone in his cell in the sanitarium, crying, because Dr. Stewart won't send him away, and he is forced to aid in the destruction of Mina. First of all, the lighting here is so atmospheric. It's dark, with lots of shadows, and in the black and white, the whites of their eyes just stand out. You see so much emotion in Renfield's, and the total lack of human empathy in Dracula's. Yes, Master. Master, you've come back. No, Master, please don't ask me to do that. Don't, not her. Please don't, Master. Please don't.
Dracula is Renfield's entire world. I guess Renfield's not so weird after all. He is so happy at Dracula's arrival, but then driven into despair again when he commands him to help with Mina. It's like watching a kid or animal be abused. It's heart-wrenching. In the book, when Jonathan Harker first meets Count Dracula, he describes him as, "He made no motion of stepping to meet me, but stood like a statue, as though his gesture of welcome had fixed him into stone." They take that idea and use it throughout the film, and Bela Lugosi has this ghostly expression and stance. He insisted on doing his own makeup, which is simple but very effective, and his cinematographer Carl Freund again does the spotlights on his eyes. This time it only gets one eye, but it gives us its own creepy quality. Next, Dracula goes into Mina's room. It's the same scenario as when he bit Lucy, but they film it from different angles. I think Helen Chandler looks like a princess sleeping in bed, and I think Bela Lugosi is at his most handsome when he's lowering his cape from his face. In a fairy tale way, it is romantic. However, the scene is also completely silent, like death itself, and the shot ends with a close-up of his bloodthirsty expression as Dracula descends upon Mina. I like to cosplay as the Bela Lugosi version of Count Dracula. Every so often at a horror convention, there'll be some wise guy who is like, "Hey man, where are your fangs?" Jack Pierce, Universal's makeup man, wanted Bela Lugosi to wear fangs, but Bela said no. It is essential for this plot that Dracula is not immediately recognized as a vampire. Plus, fake fangs would have probably made it difficult for him to speak, so most likely he would have only worn them during the biting scenes, which would go against the reality that Bela Lugosi was trying to achieve. So instead, he does this creepy facial expression, which certainly suggests that he's a vampire, but with his lips curled over like that, you don't really see his teeth. So there could be fangs there, you just don't see them, which is more mysterious and more frightening, because nothing about it is fake. While Dracula's getting a drink, we also see the most famous piece of cardboard in cinema history. Among classic horror fans, this is a controversy. There are two commentaries on the Dracula Blu-ray. David Scal believes that Todd Browning used this piece of cardboard to dim the lights of a lamp for the shot, and he showed it by mistake. Whereas Steve Haberman believes that the character Mina uses it to dim the lights and it's shown on purpose. Most of the negative criticism of Dracula is centered on Todd Browning, and David Scal explains that Browning was having difficulty adjusting from directing silent films to directing sound ones, which should take new skills. And because this cardboard is seen throughout the film, it would be another major blow to Todd Browning's reputation. Cinemassacres did a great video on this, where they look at both sides of the argument, and their conclusion was that the piece of cardboard was intentional, but there was an editing mistake, and this shot was actually intended for later in the film, after the nurses were treating Mina. They point out that if you look carefully in this scene, you could see some wolfsbane on her pillow, so obviously Van Helsing already knows she's under the threat of a vampire. Their theory makes sense to me, but honestly, before I listened to David Scal's commentary, I never gave much thought to this piece of cardboard. I guess because Dracula's from 1931, I always go into it with the assumption that the characters have some different customs and ways of doing things that are different from my own. And I just assumed that using a piece of cardboard like this was a way that people used to dim the lights. And I've shown Dracula to several friends, and none of them have ever asked me about it. So even if this is a mistake, I don't think it's major enough where it distracts from the story. Next we move to the library, where Mina is telling her fiancé John Harker about the nightmare that she had last night. This monologue does make it feel like the play, but to me it also makes it feel like the book. The novel is made up of journal entries, diary entries, and letters. And a monologue is like a staged version of a journal entry. It's a character telling their tale. I lay in bed for quite a while, reading. And just as I was commencing to get drowsy, I heard dogs howling. And as the dream came, the whole room filled with mist. It was so thick, I could just see the lamp by the bed, a tiny spark in the fog. And then I saw two red eyes staring at me, and a white, livid face that came down out of the mist. It seemed to come closer and closer. I felt its breath on my face, and then its lips.
Dear, it was only a dream.
And in the morning, I felt so weak. It seemed as if all the life had been drained out of me.
Darling, we're gonna forget all about these dreams and think of something cheerful, aren't we? Think for a moment. Is there anything that might have brought this dream on?
No.
And the face in the dream. You say it seemed to come closer and closer? The lips touched you? Where? Is there anything a matter with your throat?
I know.
Permit me. How long have you had those little marks? Marks! Mina, why didn't you let us know? Do not excite her. When, Miss Mina?
Since the morning after the dream. She talks about reading in bed, and when she falls asleep, tragedy strikes. In 1950, while she was reading, smoking, and drinking in bed, She fell asleep and caused a fire, severely scarring her face. And her sister-in-law, Geraldine, described that as the beginning of the end of Helen Chandler. When she delivers her lines, it's as if she's sleepwalking. She is no longer connected to the world around her, but you could still tell she's suffering. As Van Helsing suspects that she has fallen prey to a vampire, her eyes go downwards as she shamefully tries to keep it a secret. Just as Helen Chandler tried to keep her drinking a secret, only doing it at night.
As I mentioned in previous videos, Bela Lugosi and Dwight Frye embody their roles so much that it feels as if they're haunting the film. But so much of Helen Chandler's interpretation of Mina is and feels authentic to her tragedy, her suffering, and her disassociation from reality, that it feels as if she's haunting the film too.
Helen Chandler's acting is sometimes criticized, especially when compared to Lupita Tovar, who plays the Mina character Eva in the Spanish version of Dracula. But when I watch Scene 11, The Next Victim, to me it really feels like she's becoming one of Dracula's brides. You sense that life has been drained out of her, and that she is losing her free will. And I think this is a spooky, romantic, and well-acted scene. Will Professor Van Helsing find out who bit Mina? We'll find out next time in Chapter 12, Dracula Revealed. Until then, thank you for watching Dusty Old Movies, and stay hydrated.